What's up, everyone? This is Midnight Strike 3625, back again to review another Disturbed album for the discography, and this time the road stops us in 2005 for their third studio album, 10,000 Fists, which is actually a lot of people's favorite album and perhaps their most political album in their entire discography. Now, this album right here was the start of a brand new trend, much anticipated trends, actually a lot of different trends, because for one, this is the first album with Disturbed's mascot, the guy, on the front cover, in full force, full form, and in every subsequent release, he would appear in one form or the other. He appeared as a face on The Sickness, just a little teeny tiny face that you barely noticed, and in Believe he didn't appear at all. But from this point henceforth, he will appear on every single album cover. Another trend is the themes in the lyrics, stemming from religion and Believe. This time, as I said before, this is their most political album. So up until this point, they were mainly tackling just religious themes and just the nonsensical, very aggressive theme and angry themes and intense themes of The Sickness. So now we get into a little bit more of touchy subjects with politics and government and corruption, uprising, anarchy, raise 10,000 fists in the air, that sort of thing, and it doesn't actually surprisingly come off as contrived. Some of those things, some artists really pull it off, others just don't. Another thing that I noticed in Believe was that, like I said before, it sounds like a neutered or tamed version of The Sickness. This is definitely not the case with 10,000 Fists. The heaviness has pretty much all but come back. It's a very heavy album, although not quite as heavy as The Sickness was, but then again, it's not a new metal album. They sort of take Believe and The Sickness, mesh it together to make the ultimate Disturbed hybrid album, I should say. So, there's 14 tracks here, the guitar tone is fantastic, the production is where it needs to be. One thing I did notice when listening to this album in my car was that the bass was very prevalent. There's a lot of bass in this album. And ironically, this is the first album without Steve Kamak. John Moyer actually replaced Steve Kamak on bass during the Music as a Weapon tour, and Music as a Weapon 2 was the last album where he actually played on. It was a live album with a bunch of different artists. That's why I'm not covering it in this discography review, because it just contains like maybe a couple Disturbed tracks, combined with some Chevelle and whatnot. So basically, with this album, what you see is what you get. You can basically look at some of the song titles and guess what they're going to be about. This contains one of their most popular songs, Stricken, 10,000 Fists, and of course their cover of the Genesis classic, Land of Confusion, which actually ranks in probably my top 10 covers of all time, because they take what was great about the song, twist it around, Disturbedify it, and they make it their own. So I just love it when just artists come in, take a cover that's sounded completely different from them, and they just turn it into their own. Just like Van Halen did with You Really Got Me, just like Disturbed is doing with Land of Confusion, just like Killswitch Engage does with Holy Diver. A lot of these great bands take really good songs and cover them and make them just as good, if not even better. In this case, I would say that Land of Confusion is even better. So, to get into it track by track, like I said, the guitar's very heavy, not as heavy as The Sickness, but the production kind of makes up for that with the bass sound. I actually like John Moyer a lot better on bass than I did Steve Kamak. I don't know, just the prevalence of the bass, his settings that he uses, the way that he plays just seems to make the music come alive. Even more so than it did on The Sickness, and I'm not going to say Believe, because really, in my opinion, the music was just a little flat. You could barely hear the bass in that. Maybe it was the production, but who knows. Anyways, track by track, 10,000 Fists is the first track. So basically they're beginning with a bang. From now on, up until Immortalized, I'm not entirely sure what Immortalized has for a track listing. I actually want to look that up now. So, Immortalized. Basically, up until this point, Disturbed has always had their title track being the fourth track. But here's another trend that Disturbed started with this album, was every single album released subsequently to this would have the title track as the first track, with the exception of Immortalized, because I see on here that the Eye of the Storm is the first track. Immortalized is the second, so you never know. Eye of the Storm could be an intro, just like Remnants was, in which case I would count them as one, like Asylum on Asylum. But then again, this is a trend that must be noted. 10,000 Fists is a song for the people. It's a song about anarchy, about uprising, raising your fist in the air, and saying no to tyranny. It's a very well-crafted song. It has a really nice ring to it. It's very catchy, and has really great lyrics to it. So, probably one of my favorite songs on the album. Just the atmosphere alone makes this song one of the best. The next song is Just Stop. This is another one where they repeat the same thing over and over again. This one and Sacred Lie, I think, do it the most. And a little bit in Pain Redefined. So they kind of harken back a little bit to the days of the Sickness era. And I quite like that a lot. Overall, it's a very well-crafted song. The lyrics are really good. The guitars are pretty much right where they need to be with the production in terms of heaviness and technique is there. The next song is Guarded. I really like this one. It's a fast-paced song. It's very heavy. I like the vocals. David Draymond definitely gives it his all in this song, especially in the beginning. It's just, you could tell that he's just screaming. And towards the midsection of this song and Just Stop, it actually kind of calms down a little bit and brings a little bit more of a melodic tone into it. So they bring that really structured and layered melodic element from Believe and combines it with the Sickness. Like I said, this is pretty much the ultimate Disturbed hybrid album of their first two releases. So it's a very, very good track. Deify, this is another one where they kind of repeat the same thing in the chorus. Deify you, I'll never let them deify you. It's a really good track. Really like it. It almost sounds demonic with how low David Draymond sings this song, which would actually become a trademark in just the next release, Indestructible, where he would sing really low and demonic and dark and try to layer his music even more so than he already is, or they already are with Disturbed. So, really good track. Deify, like I said. What can I say about it that hasn't already been said? It sounds demonic. So, the next song, Stricken, really needs no intro if you play Guitar Hero 3. Really good song. A little bit sporadic in the guitars with the verses compared to the chorus. I don't know. It sounds like the verse doesn't really go along with the tempo of the chorus, but I've since gotten used to it, and once you listen to it a couple times, it just kind of starts to meld together and sound even better. But at first I was just thinking, okay, the chorus sounds like it should be for a different song. But that's just me. I like the song. Really good lyrics, really good meaning, really good sound to it, and it's just a punch in the face. So, one thing that I actually forgot to mention in the beginning with 10,000 Fists is, with the bass, it also brings out the sound in the drums, especially on the title track. In the beginning, they have these really intense drums, these drum beats that sort of bring out the tension until David Draymond starts singing and the main guitar beat picks up and kicks in. So, really awesome drumming throughout the entire album. Love it. I'm Alive. This is where the album starts to falter a little bit. They start to go back to that really, really layered and synthesized melodic feel to it, like they did with Believe. And while it is heavier than Believe and it does pack a little bit more of a punch, I don't know, something about the vocals really threw me off, where I think maybe two people are singing together. I'm not entirely sure, or maybe David just layered his vocals a little bit, but it sounds a little off. The song overall has a neat structure to it and is pretty catchy and entertaining to listen to, but I'm not really as big of a fan of that song as I am of some of the other ones. So, Sons of Plunder, however, this is one of the songs that really got me into listening to this album as a whole and judging it as a whole versus just listening to a couple singles. This song is really good. It has the repetition with, tell me you like it. It has the noises, the random nonsensical noises from the Sickness era. and it's got a lot of melody from the Believe era. So it's a really good song. It's really catchy. It's really heavy. It's more mid-tempo, not necessarily the fastest, but also not very slow at all. Overall, really good song. Let's see, Overburden. This is really where the album starts to falter a little bit. Good lyrics. I don't really like the track, though. And that's because there's not enough variation in the guitars or in the structure. It starts off good. It's a little slower. Well, it's actually, I should say, it's very slow. But that's not the reason why I don't like it. It just seems like it doesn't go anywhere. It seems like they're singing the songs, they go into the chorus, they go into the verse, but the song doesn't really go anywhere. You're expecting it to kind of build up a little bit, or break down, or get, you know, a little bit heavier, or pick up, sort of, but it never does. It just kind of, it's flat. That's about it. The next one is Decadence. This is a really good song. It directly references politics and corruption. Really good lyrics, and they actually named their 2010 documentary Decade of Decadence after this song, or at least used that song in the title. So there is that. The next one, Forgiven, really good one. I forgot to mention about the repetition of the same thing. Forgiven to me, forgiven to me. You're just another dead man walking to me. Maybe I butchered those lyrics, maybe not. Either way, he repeats the same thing in the chorus, and it sounds catchy as fuck. It's a good song. It's very heavy. It's a little bit more mid-tempo than anything, but that doesn't mean it's a bad song. It's just very heavy. Land of Confusion. I've already mentioned this. One of my favorite covers. I love it when bands take a song and make it their own. The next one, Sacred Lie. Same thing, repetition. The lyrics are good. The structure is very sound. The guitars are pretty much exactly where they need to be production-wise. Pain Redefined. This one is probably my favorite song, if not my second favorite song, or third favorite song, in comparison with Land of Confusion and the title track. I really love this song. It brings back a lot of the nu metal elements from Disturbed's first album, and combines it with a lot of the melodic elements found on Believe. But it's probably one of the heaviest songs on the album. It sounds very demonic, much like Deify did. It sounds very heavy and very nu metalish, as they add some of those electronic elements that were found and very prevalent in The Sickness, in such songs as Fear and Voices and pretty much everything else. Conflict, you know, but it's got a really, really catchy beat to it. It's mid-tempo, so it's not really fast, but none of the songs on here are really all that fast, with the exception of maybe Guarded. But then again, it's a very good song, very catchy, very heavy, very good lyrics, and I think my favorite part about this song is the vocals, and as well as a little bit of the Return to the Sickness era style that they were going for on this. But the vocals just, David Draymond just knocks it out of the park with this one. He can sing in different tones, he sings really high, he can hold out notes, he sounds very, very demonic when he says memories don't lie in the chorus. You know better than memories don't lie. It's just amazing. I'll say that right off the bat. It's an amazing song. The closer, Adverse. For a long time I actually pronounced this as Adverice until I actually listened to the song for the lyrics versus the melody and the structure. But this is another good one, very heavy. It's a little bit faster than what we've heard all the way back to Guarded. It's just a good closer overall. I wouldn't really say that it's one of the standout tracks, but it is a very good song in its own right. So with that, I am going to probably rate 10,000 Fists a 8 out of 10. It's not better than The Sickness. No way. No way, no how. Not better than The Sickness. It's better than Believe. It's probably maybe their third or fourth best album. I'm not entirely sure where I would rank it, but it is good. So with that, thank you very much for watching. This is Midnight Strike 3625. Keep calm and rock on.